What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And we got a lot to cover today, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into our main question, which is, what if no one could go outside? Ben, I'm going to let you start this off.
Yeah, so sort of the first thing we got to figure out was what counts as being outside or inside.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because you would think it'd be obvious.
Yeah. Right, well, and that's kind of, so sort of what we decided was being enclosed by walls and a ceiling.
Yes, that's the obvious part.
Yeah, obvious, exactly, yeah. One of the doors can be open, but you can't go through them. And then we said that vehicles count as inside as well.
Right.
And sort of philosophically, it became this question of the one that I brought up. That was sort of the real question was, if you get like a refrigerator box, like a refrigerator cardboard box, and take it outside, and get inside of it and fold the flaps under you so it is entirely enclosing you. Are you inside or outside?
We determined that like the floor was what does it, right? That's the definition.
you need an actual floor, and we decided the refrigerator box does not count as that. Which is also kind of our justification for vehicles being inside as well, is that if you drop something on the floor of your car, it's the floor of the car, not the ground of the car.
Right.
So that's kind of floor versus ground is kind of the point we reached.
You're also saying that like a garage is inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may seem nitpicky, but like we came across it a lot. Like, what if you just lived in a box?
Yeah, it makes a big difference in our answers.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just, put a cardboard box on a skateboard and go to town, literally.
Skateboard is not a floor.
Yeah. So the one problem with defining it this way is that it actually became weirdly hard to find real impacts from this. So usually we have these kind of questions and, we find these big obvious things that break horribly and we figure out how to fix them, or just, if it's bad enough, how hilariously it breaks. And modern society, we've kind of crafted it to be really easy to not have to leave.
Yeah, we're very good at being inside all the time.
Yeah, so, obviously we can communicate with each other. We have, phones and the internet and everything. So, there's no issue there. And really anything you want to do, you can probably do inside. I know, we kind of looked into, entertainment things. I think it was Marcus was the one who brought up in the chat, surfing. You can technically do inside. It's gonna suck. You use one of those wave pool things. It's not gonna be good, but you can do it. That's kind of what kept happening. Was just you can do it, but it's bad. And sort of what I was hoping would be a big impact was food, because obviously a lot of food is grown outside. Most of it, in fact.
Nearly all the food
is outside, whether that be animals or vegetables or whatnot. But for vegetables and stuff, we've already talked about previously on the podcast. I think the first time it came up was episode 67, which was the underwater city one. Vertical farming, where you have these systems that are these enclosed systems in, a smaller space that are very efficient. And you could totally, grow vegetables that way without having to go outside. So I guess I'm not going to go into full detail on those because, we went over it already. But if you want to hear about those more, go to episode 67. So I figured, okay, vegetables we can do. I know that one. But like our protein and stuff, we have to, have some issues there, right? So fishing, most fishing involves going out into the ocean, which is outside. But it turns out there's already indoor fisheries where they just have these facilities where they build these enclosed water systems for fish and breed them there and farm them there that way.
Really?
Yeah, and they're actually possibly more environmentally friendly than standard fish farms. Because generally the way you do a fish farm is you'll have these, open to the ocean cages, sort of enclosures. And any waste that goes in, comes out of the fish or from things you put into the chemicals you use or anything will just flow out into the ocean, which can cause issues in wild populations. So because the indoor ones are closed loops, that doesn't happen. So it might actually be better. So, there's that. So fish aren't a problem. And I was like, well, okay. So fish, fine, whatever. But livestock is definitely a problem, right? But like chickens and stuff are already raised indoors. So that one's off the table. But then I was like, okay, cows. Cows aren't gonna fail me. There's no way you can raise a cow indoors.
Don't fail me, cows. Or do fail me, cows.
Right, yes, yeah, please fail me, cows. Turns out, you can also raise cattle entirely indoors. I found a story about this rancher in Michigan, I feel like, obviously it happens because, Michigan is like a big, ranching area, but I feel like Michigan is a terrible place. It gets pretty cold in the winter. I feel like a really bad place to rely on, like, ranching for your, welfare, but whatever. But there's a guy who basically, like, converted a barn into an indoor facility where he can raise like 600 cattle at a time.
That's a big indoor facility.
Yeah, so it's smaller than I thought it would be. It was like 145 by 75 feet.
Wait, how many cows in that space?
600. Yeah, it's probably not great, like, to think about, but it works. And apparently it's actually been more profitable for him than when he just used, did them out at pasture. So even cows, it turns out, you can raise indoors. So apparently, once we get going, we're fine with food, which I really did not expect to happen.
Actually, one thing I saw talking about cows, I just happened to see this news article last week. There's a farmer, I think it was in Japan, who was raising cattle. And in order to improve his cow's mood, because, the happier your cow is, the better milk you get, he was actually putting VR headsets on his cows.
That's incredible.
So that they would be like in the most idyllic pasture ever, and a cow doesn't know what the hell VR is. So So apparently he actually got improvements in his cow's milk. Yeah, it worked. So maybe we'll see more VR cows coming up.
Actually, speaking of Japan, I forgot to put this in my notes, but I read about when I was doing my research. There was a building in Japan where they actually built a rice paddy in an office building, and the office workers went and grew the rice like on their breaks as like a relaxation thing, and like produced the rice for the building
just in their office.
So like everything works. It's so annoying. Like even the thing that you need these large like marshes for to grow, that still works. Whatever. Anyway, so food apparently won't be a problem eventually. We'll make it work. I guess we have to sort of just get to that point at this point. We have to figure out if this happens overnight, will we survive? And kind of the question you have to answer then is, can you make it to your car? If you can, you live. If you can't, you're probably going to die.
Yeah, because the car access is like the rest of the world. Like,
exactly, yeah.
Once you're in your car, you can take your indoor into like a parking garage, basically anywhere.
Yeah, and you make it work.
Then you're good.
So I was trying to figure out how can you get yourself to your car? How can you stay inside through the outside to your car?
Assuming you don't have a garage.
Right, yeah. If you have a garage, obviously it's very easy. Assuming it's attached to your house, you just go out and get in your car and yay, cool. If you don't, if you're like all of us and we live in like apartment buildings, really the only thing I can think of is a tent. Just like a camping tent. Because that, I would say, has a floor. So it is indoors, but you don't have to like fix it to the ground. So you could technically set up a tent like inside your building and just kind of like roll yourself outside all the way to your car.
Oh God.
And get in that way.
I imagine you like on the floor and like jumping up and like hitting the ceiling to like hop the whole tent.
Pretty much,
forward.
Yeah. It's that,
I was imagining the rolling technique, but the hopping might be better.
Like a hamster ball kind of, where you're like pushing the wall down with your hands and like running it that way. So you just get in your car from there and go. You can pull the tent in with you and then pop it out when you get to the store or whatever, and it'll work. You can get a 2-person tent for like a backpacking tent for like $100. It's not bad. That'll work.
Can you open your car door like that? How do you?
It's thin enough. I think you can get a grip on the handle. I think it's thin enough.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Yeah, and then you have to kind of like pull yourself up in.
Yeah, imagining how much difficulty I have taking my just my fucking jacket off while I'm already in the car.
Right,
Like,
it's gonna
I can't imagine getting out of a tent.
It's gonna be true. I didn't say it would be easy, okay? But you would live. That was my goal here. And the other possibility that I thought of that's kind of like the kings in the situation is anyone who owns an RV.
Yeah.
Because then your home is a mobile home.
You can't just have it, though. You have to actually live in it.
Right. You have to be, exactly. You have to be actively living in it. I guess you could, tent your way out to it, technically. But yeah, if you actually live in it, you're set. I looked up, so there's different classes of RV. It's like A, B, and C class ones, where the A's are the nicest and largest. So looking at those, they'll have like 80 to 150 gallon fuel tanks, which one is absurd.
Oh God, that's like, what does it cost? It's got, you say $3.
It's hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, hundreds of dollars to fill up your RV.
Yeah, literal hundreds of dollars. And they don't have great mileage. They only get like 9 or 10 miles per gallon. But even with that, you're still going to have like 7 to 1,500 miles of range. The one problem being it's going to be pretty hard to refuel it, because generally that happens outdoors.
You just got to get your tent.
Yeah, I guess you get your tent and like one of those little red fuel cans and just like hop back and forth.
Oh my God, yes.
So technically, if you have an RV, you're in decent shape, aside from the very complicated refueling situation. But that's probably your best case scenario. But honestly, assuming you can survive, eventually we're going to adapt pretty well and just have like tunnels places. And I think it's not really going to change much, which is kind of sad when you think about what that says about modern society.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, how many times, when do I have to, like, that's how I started this question. Like, when do I have to be outside?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not outside a lot, huh?
Yeah, I'm really not.
Yeah, I definitely spend just full days never going outside.
Yeah. Which admittedly, we're pretty sad people, but like,
yeah,
just in general, it's, kind of, makes you think, But anyway, that's kind of what I had. Things don't change much as long as you can live. So, that's cool.
Okay.
As long as you can live.
So, Chris, what did you do?
So I decided to look at sunlight, because obviously if you're not going outside, you're not getting sunlight. And the main thing you get from sunlight is vitamin D. So actually 2 types of vitamin D. They're both hard to pronounce. So there's one called ergocalciferol and cholecalciferol.
Do you want to paste these in the chat and we can try and pronounce them better?
Yeah, I want to try this.
Sure, hold on.
Please do this.
They both have the same ending to the word.
Oh yeah. Ergocalciferol.
Yeah, ergocalciferol, yeah.
Do you, okay?
And cholecalciferol.
Yeah, cholecalciferol. It's easy.
Come on.
I don't know why you're struggling so much, Chris. This is the easy words.
I'm bad with words.
No, they're difficult. It's okay.
I'm going to use the easier version of these, which is vitamin D2 and vitamin D3.
Wait, hold on.
What happened to vitamin D1?
I don't know.
Is vitamin D2 why the mighty ducks are so mighty? Sorry, just ignore me.
I found it. Google told me. German researcher Adolf Windaus first discovered 3 forms of vitamin D, which he called D1, D2, and D3. It was later learned that the vitamin D1 was a mixture of compounds rather than a pure vitamin D product, so the term D1 is no longer used.
More you know.
So, anyway, pretty much the main way we get vitamin D is from sunlight. And the sun actually doesn't have vitamin D in it. What happens is that our skin has something called 7-dehydrocholesterol. So like when UVB light hits that, there's like a reaction that happens and that creates vitamin D3. And then sunlight has UVB light in it. So if we don't go outside, we don't get UVB light, which means no vitamin D. So my first question was just like, could you just like stand in a greenhouse and would that solve your problem? Would you get vitamin D? And the answer is no, because windows actually block most of the UV light in sunlight. So that's
goddamn windows.
Yeah, I know, ruining everything. So I found a stat saying that 40% of American adults right now are actually vitamin D deficient, just like in general right now, with their option to go outside.
Right.
Wow. Way to make fun of my vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah. So not great. And some of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency are something called rickets, which is like a condition that impedes growth in children. You get bone issues, so like you get weak bones or like deformities. You get muscle weakness and also depression. So it's not like fatal, but it's not great.
Man, I hope my bones aren't brittle. I hate diseases that are like the symptom is like you get weak bones, because you don't know you have weak bones.
Yeah, until you break them.
You can't feel that your bones are like one step away from just being like...
Right. So I wanted to figure out like how much vitamin D do we actually need? There's an article from Creighton University Medical Center which recommends 100 micrograms per day of vitamin D. So I started looking at alternative ways to get vitamin D. Obviously, there's other ways than just the sunlight. So right now, a lot of our foods are actually fortified with vitamin D. So like it's added later in the process of just making the food. So like examples of this are milk and cereal have fortified vitamin D in them. But there are very few foods that actually naturally have vitamin D in them. But there are some. So the first thing I looked at was fish. Fish actually have a small amount of vitamin D, but the main fish product that has like a very decent amount is cod liver oil.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross.
So 1 teaspoon of cod liver oil has 11 micrograms of vitamin D in it. So you could, as a solution, just sip down 9 teaspoons of cod liver oil per day.
That's not a solution. That's not a solution, Chris.
It's very gross. It's very gross, I admit. And you are right, it's not a solution because of the cod population. So cod population has kind of been not in the greatest condition. In 1992, there was actually a collapse in cod fisheries. They found that the biomass of northern cod, which are found around like Newfoundland, their population dropped to 1% of what previous levels were due to overfishing. There's just like a huge drop in cod. And as a result of this, like when they found this out, they actually put a ban on the fishing of northern cod. And this caused like a ton of fisheries to shut down. A lot of people lost their jobs. So politicians actually use this as like leverage for elections and stuff. So there's one guy, I forget who it was, I didn't write down their name, but they lifted the ban on cod during an election just to gain like popularity. And then it was later found out that like he had done so too early. The population had not yet recovered from its drop yet.
Oh.
So not good for the cod.
Shame on him.
Yeah.
Shame on him. He didn't really care about cod fisheries. Also, but I mean, that's gotta suck. Can you imagine, like, being in business, like... Well, I guess, Chris, you work with, like, bridge inspections, where it's just like, okay, we're no longer inspecting bridges. Right. And it's like, there's nothing that you did wrong, but literally your job no longer exists because it's illegal.
Right.
Like, I was gonna fish cod. My job is to fish cod. That's what I do. That's a simple, nice life. That is a good life. And they're just like, nah.
Nope. No longer a profession.
You all as a whole were too good at fishing cod out of the ocean. Now there's none left. So
yeah.
you've
You're
done
too
and
good
done
at your
it. You
job.
fished them all out.
Yeah. So there was actually like a failure to accurately assess the population of cod. So in 1998, the Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife in Canada, or COSWIC for short, they classified cod as vulnerable, like in the endangered scale thing.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerable, it's not quite as bad as endangered. But in 2000, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or the WWF, classified it as, and they're like, you're wrong, it's endangered.
Speaking of the WWF, can we briefly talk about the fact that the WWE had to change their name away from WWF because they lost the fight to the World Wildlife Federation or Foundation? Whatever it is.
Wait, really?
Yes. Because it used to be the World Wrestling Federation.
WWF.
Yeah. And then the current WWF sued and won, and it is now World Wrestling Entertainment.
That's awesome.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite random facts.
Don't fuck with animal activists.
Suck it, John Cena.
Anyway.
Don't anyway Ben's fun fact away like that. That's awesome.
Anyway. So like by 2003, all of the Atlantic Canadian cod fisheries had shut down. There were none left. And in 2010, Greenpeace actually put cod on their red list, which is like a list of things they recommend you don't buy. They say that if you buy cod, it's probably sourced from an unsustainable fishery. So since then, cod has sort of recovered a little bit, but as recently as 2018, the federal government reduced the cod quota, and they said that cod stocks had fallen yet again. So obviously cod is not a sustainable source of vitamin D. So I looked at other fish. I started looking at other fish, and salmon was the next highest on the list. So a salmon has 0.13 micrograms of vitamin D per gram. So the average American eats about 16 pounds of fish per year, not even just salmon, but like fish in general per year. But in order to get the amount of vitamin D we need from salmon, we need to eat 620 pounds of salmon per year, an over 3,000% increase in consumption. So just like any kind of fish that we're going to try to eat to get vitamin D is going to cause an overfishing problem. It's not going to be an option. So next I looked at mushrooms, because mushrooms have vitamin D in them too. So like mushrooms in their raw form have like a small amount of vitamin D, but then if you actually expose them to UV light, they react to the UV light and they create more vitamin D. It's vitamin D2, not vitamin D3. So like the common button mushroom, which was high on the list of mushrooms I had, a button mushroom has 0.32 micrograms per gram of mushrooms. So the average American eats about 4 pounds of mushrooms per year, and we need to consume 251 pounds of mushrooms per year to get our vitamin D. So that's a 6,000 plus increase in consumption. Does not sound great for us.
No. I also like mushrooms.
Like a pound of mushrooms a day is a lot.
It is a lot, but if you need to, I mean, you want to get your vitamin D, so if that's your only option.
I'll just stay vitamin D deficient, thank you very much. I like mushrooms, but I don't like mushrooms that much.
Well, I wanted to see if, because obviously we had that overfishing problem, I wanted to see if this mushroom thing could be sustainable. So edible mushroom production is actually increasing right now. So it's expected to expand at a compounding annual growth rate of 7.9% between now and 2026, which is actually pretty high. It's growing pretty fast. That means that by 2026, it will have increased by 67%. So nowhere close to 6,000%, obviously. So mushrooms are not an option. And I was like, why are we scrounging for food with vitamin D when there are vitamin D supplements? Like, that's what astronauts do. So astronauts, they're in space, they're shielded from the sunlight, they don't get any sunlight at all. And to solve this, they take vitamin D supplements. So like, that's an easy solution. But then I had to look into how do they make vitamin D supplements, because they're not just like, they don't magically appear. We need to make them from something. And what most of them are made from actually is something called lanolin. So lanolin is a wax that's excreted from wool-bearing animals, primarily sheep. So they like harvest it from sheep wool.
I'm like, excreted from where?
It's like excreted from, I guess, the pores in the skin of the sheep, and it coats the wool. So like when they shear a sheep, they can clean out the wool, and they harvest the lanolin from the wool. And then the process they do to get like the vitamin D from the lanolin is they're able to extract the 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is the same thing that we have in our skin, from the lanolin. And they irradiate that with UV light. And that creates D3, vitamin D3. So I was like, how much vitamin D3 can we get from one sheep? So typically you shear a sheep once per year, and they can get about 150 grams of lanolin per year from that sheep. So going through the whole process of extraction and all that, there are some assumptions I had to make, but in general, you'd get around 13,500 milligrams of D3 per year from one sheep, which is a lot, actually, compared to like how much we actually need.
Yeah, what was the number for how much we need? Like 100?
Well, it's 100 micrograms per day per person.
Oh, gotcha.
And this is per year in milligrams. So I was like, okay, that's a lot. How many sheep do we have in the world compared to the amount of people in the world? So world population right now is 7.7 billion people, and the sheep population is 1 billion people. So one sheep has to support 7.7 people. So yeah, one person needs 100 micrograms per day, which means that 7.7 people needs 281,000 micrograms per year. So the sheep actually provides way more than that.
Oh, good on you, sheep.
Yeah, we have a really big surplus of vitamin D, which is good. But I was like, we have all the surplus. How long does vitamin D actually last? Is it go bad if we just like let it sit around. So the FDA actually doesn't require an expiration date on vitamin D supplements. And the reason for that is because vitamin D actually doesn't become unsafe to consume if you just leave it out. What happens is that it loses its potency. So if you just let it sit for a really long time and then you take a pill, you're not gonna get as much vitamin D as if you take it right away.
So it's like from vitamin D to vitamin decent.
It gets lowercase, you know.
Lowercase D.
Lowercase D.
Vitamin D.
So I wanted to try to figure out how fast it loses its potency. I found it very hard to find this number, like this rate of lost potency. What I did find was that even though the FDA doesn't require an expiration date, some companies do choose to put an expiration date. And the typical expiration date is around 2 years. So that's pretty much what I use from a basis of how long the vitamin D will last. So even though you have a really big surplus of vitamin D, it's only going to last 2 years. So every 2 years, we'll just need to make new supplements. It's not a huge deal. So for every 7.7 people, we need one sheep. And I think that in reality, this would just happen on an industrial level. I think that would be way more efficient than what I have in mind.
What do you mean?
What I have in mind is that every family will just have their own family sheep. And they'll have their own UV lamp. They'll just do this process themselves. I don't know how hard the process is, but they can learn. And every household will have a sheep.
And a chemical processing laboratory to turn the wax into vitamin D supplements.
You can learn. It's a learning process. So, yeah, what if no one could go outside? Every family would have a sheep.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
So, yeah, Marcus, what did you do?
So I was kind of in the same boat as Ben, where a lot of the things about, like, we're very good at being inside. So it wasn't so much that we couldn't make things that, could be indoors. And so what I was looking at is what happens when you're indoors is suddenly outdoors. So I was looking at emergency services. So my first scenario I was kind of looking at is like, what if a tree falls on your garage and like breaks your garage roof? You're kind of fucked because now your garage is no longer, inside because it is, demolished. And your car is there. And maybe your car is broke too.
And what if a smaller tree falls into your tent and you no longer have a tent?
And you no longer have your escape tent. Your escape tent is in your garage is the problem.
It's poor planning on your part.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't even need the escape tent if you have if you have an attached garage.
Okay, well, you could just have a tent. You know what? Anyway.
You just can't. It might be wise to purchase a tent for situations like this. But
camping's fun too. Just like go camping. Okay. Anyway,
these are emergencies. So whatever plan you did, the tree fell in exactly the right spot to ruin it. So now you're missing your way to leave your place. So now you gotta go get rescued by somebody. But it's kind of hard because like if you don't have I didn't have the rolly tent at the ready, and sometimes your emergency is not a tree. Sometimes it's more time sensitive, like a fire or something. So in my head, you need to kind of retrofit fire trucks to be able to evacuate you from your house. Like say you have like a carbon monoxide leak or something, like you need to get out, and a tree has fallen on your garage.
Oh no. Perfect storm.
So first is what is the fire truck going to need? And so the first part of the fire truck that immediately breaks is the ladder, because the ladder, of course, is outside the fire truck. It's right on top. It goes up, but nobody can go and climb that ladder because it's not outside anymore. So the simple thing is you just kind of enclose the ladder in like a tube. Like if you have a tube that's attached to the truck and it kind of like extends out like one of those things that like a slinky almost, but like connected with fabric like the kids' toys, you could have the ladder. But now you get the ladder to the third story window that you're going to, but you can't that last 2 feet is a problem because you can't exit the ladder to get into the house because there's going to be like a little bit of outside between you and the house that you can't go through. So what I think you need to do is you need to kind of jack up the strength of this ladder or something, because I think the ladder has to now penetrate the building in order to like get rid of that 1.5 feet of airspace. So I think the safest way is to somehow get a drill head on there and have it kind of just core through the wall of the building, and then kind of open up, like, once that is inside, now you can kind of open up the hatch and you can get people down the ladder and into the truck, and then once they're in the truck, you're good and dandy. You could also just, like, hydraulicize it and just have it, like, smash through the walls, which would be hilarious, but probably a bit more dangerous on the structure. So I think for the ladder, I think it's got to be a tube, and then it's got to get it, and then they have a drill. But of course, you don't want to have to drill through somebody's house.
Maybe you don't. Don't speak for all of us, man. That's all I'm saying.
So I decided that I was going to add another option for getting people out, for more, getting people from their front door, into the truck. And so now you need kind of like some kind of hallway. And I think the best thing here, like, that's going to be, sturdy and, durable, is I want to just use a, like, shipping container. Because it's basically a portable hallway. And because it's got doors on either end, and it's totally enclosed, it's got the floor, and it's big and durable. So I think if you have something like, say, the carbon monoxide leak where you can just kind of go out the front door, I think you have a shipping container either like on the side of it. I imagine on the side of the fire truck, and the fire truck kind of drives up, and then it kind of swings out, and then kind of you just push it again. You drive so that it's against the door, and then you open the door, and you can go right into the shipping container. Should be able to get, like, flush up against the wall so that you can get in there. And then the last bit of the fire truck that I was looking at is the actual water hose itself, because again, you need somebody on the outside to actually, unroll it and spray it places. And this one, I think you just have to do a cool robotic arm. I think in order for it to be useful, in order to get, like, far enough away from the truck and everything where, where you would normally use it, I think you got to have a robot arm attached to the truck. So now we've got a much more industrial...
Do we just have, like, a transformer now?
It's going to be it's going to have a lot more moving bits, I admit. And it's going to be a lot heavier and more industrial, because all these things I'm attaching to this truck are quite heavy. So fire trucks are going to be a bit rugged. They might have, like, more tire, like, I imagine, like, bulkier tires, like a lot more steampunky.
I mean, couldn't you just have, like, one of those airport terminal things instead of a shipping container? That seems better.
Oh, that would be cool, like one of those extending lifts.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess if you're talking about getting from today to then, there's only so many of those airport things out there.
Yeah.
And you can get shipping containers and fire trucks can be modified. I think you'd do it that way. But no, I like that idea too. But as I was looking at this, I started looking at, fire, because fire is really the nasty one. The fire is the big emergency that you need this fire truck for. And the first thing I was looking at was, if we are, think a few years down the line where we've connected a lot more places. I think we would build a lot more, like, hallways and tunnels and things connecting more buildings. So I think we'd have a lot more interconnected building systems, so you wouldn't have to go outside between them. In which case I started worrying about fire, because fire, of course, spreads to however far it can go. And I ended up looking at, like, skyscrapers, like big buildings that already exist, malls and skyscrapers and things. And if you plan it, you can build places to be quite fire resistant. Like, if you can have, even like in some residentials, like you have standard, like you have like 2-hour fire rated walls where, it can withstand a fire for 2 hours. But you can go deeper than that. And you can, like, the skyscrapers are almost fireproof, as far as, if the fire starts on the floor, it won't spread to the whole building, because that would be crazy. But your typical house is a lot less fireproof, of course. Here's a fun fact. 30 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to escape your average house fire. So if you built your house in a way that would have been built, it would be built 30 years ago, you'd have about 17 minutes before the fire spread and, engulfed your entire house. Today, you have about 3 to 4 minutes.
Wow.
So because of all the like modern building materials are, like, they're all built a bit, I don't want to say cheaper, but yes, cheaper with more modern materials, which are lighter and more synthetic. So they tested, like, a modern house, and they set fire to a pillow on the couch. And within 3 minutes, the fire was going through the roof of the house.
That is very fast.
Yeah, so legit, like, fire safety tip, guys, from Absurd Hypotheticals, get the fuck out of your house.
Right.
Yeah.
3 minutes is, like, not a lot of time, and you have to think
Don't go for possessions. Don't grab anything. Just go.
Don't go for possessions. Don't go over anything. Don't, like, find your family photos and run them out. Like, get the fuck out of your house, because that's 3 minutes. But you have to imagine that you're not going to notice your fire for, like, one of those minutes, and now you have 120 seconds to get out of your house, which is not a lot of time. So, real fire safety tip. But this kind of throws a nut in my in my gears for, getting people out of their house via shipping container or, ladder hallway thing, because the fire truck's not going to be there in 3 to 4 minutes. Like, you have to get out of your house yourself. So what you need is an emergency system. So the first thing I was looking at was panic rooms, which make a lot of sense because they're inside. They're just inside and they could be protected. But I kind of 2 issues with them. One, I'm not sure how heat transfer would work in like an enclosed panic room, where if there's a fire raging around it, if it's going to heat up inside the box and just kind of...
I mean, if it's insulated, then it should be fine, right?
Yeah, I feel like there are at least some that are supposed to be fire. Like, that's one of the uses for them, but I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be that too much of a problem. I think what I had more of an issue with is that if your house kind of like collapses around your escape room, your panic room, sorry, not your escape room, your panic room, it's gonna be tough to get that, like, to get to you in that panic room, because you have to clean up all the debris before you can establish like an outside around your, around your room. So yeah, you could honestly you could probably make it work. But this is absurd hypothetical, so forget that. I have a much more interesting plan. So, like I said, the issue with the panic room is that it's stuck in the burning building. So we really want ours to be mobile. And I'm not putting wheels on it, forget that. What we want to do is we basically want to turn our panic room into a hot air balloon.
So you've turned the panic room into an escape room. I see.
Yes. I'm going to turn the panic room into an escape room. So... if you look at hot air balloons, basically the way hot air balloons work is that the air inside the hot air balloon is less dense than the cooler air outside of it. So hot air balloons get to be they heat the air up to about 250 degrees, which is, a good bit less dense than the, 70 degree wet, beautiful, balmy day that you're air ballooning in. And that lifts the thing up and gets you out of there. Luckily, or I don't know if luckily is the right word here, a house fire burns a lot hotter at 1100 degrees. So what's good about that is that you don't need as gigantic a balloon if it's a lot hotter, because then you can just, the density difference is a bit more and you can get away with a smaller balloon. So I think basically what you have is you have your panic room, you give it some good insulation, definitely, 2-hour fire rated at least, that you escape into. And then once the fire gets hot enough, it'll naturally fill your now released balloon with the hot air that it needs. You don't even need like an external power source, so it can't break. And then it'll fill it up with the hot air, and then it'll float you out, and it'll probably pretty quickly cool and kind of deposit you nicely, like on the
on someone else's house.
Yeah, on someone else's house or on the sidewalk somewhere, hopefully, where it's much easier for emergency services to come by and pop a tent over you and get you where you need to be. So I think. There might be better options. Like I said, tunnels are very good, but I like this hot air balloon escape room. I think it just would be a good idea in general. It sounds fun.
As fun as your house burning down can be.
Yeah, finally I have an excuse to use my hot air balloon escape room. Alright guys, are you ready for our Would You Rather question?
I am.
I guess so.
From the wonderful pages of the 3000 Would You Rather Questions book, number 740. Ben, would you rather battle pirates or Vikings?
Pirates or Vikings? Huh. Pirates and Vikings are actually very similar, huh?
They are very similar. I'm just thinking now, after I said it, I'm like, do I know enough about Vikings to answer this question?
I don't know if I know a lot about these guys.
So, all right.
Do Vikings have gunpowder?
Vikings don't have gunpowder.
They don't. Okay.
So that's a point, obviously, in favor of Vikings. However,
according to the internet, Vikings are from Minnesota and they play football.
This is also true.
And Pirates is a football team too, right?
There's Buccaneers, yeah. So it kind of works both ways. But the Vikings are much better. Anyway.
So Pirates.
No, so the lack of gunpowder, you'd think that would mean that Vikings would be the choice. However, sort of the modus operandi of both of these groups, pirates are mostly just looking for the money, and they're kind of gonna, generally, from what I understand, they're probably going to more try to rob you first. Like, if they can just get the money and go, they probably will. Whereas Vikings are much more raiders and pillagers.
Ooh,
and they're going to kind of go in and, slash first, ask questions later. It's going to be a little harder to reason with them. Also, less likely that they speak English. That's a big point, actually, in favor of pirates.
Oh wow, that is a really good point.
Didn't think about that one until right now. That might sway the answer entirely.
So, how big of packs do Vikings usually travel in?
They use long ships.
Yeah, they use like long ships, which were.
Yeah, but do they travel in like, what's the word? Like multiple ships all at once?
I
think that a raiding party would probably be multiple long ships, but I think it would still probably be like 40 or 50 Vikings.
Because pirates would probably only be one ship, right?
Yeah, but if it's only 40 or 50 Vikings, that's probably more pirates on a ship. Yeah, isn't the crew of a sailing vessel? I guess it could be pretty low, but
I feel like the size. It looks like the size of the Viking ship that I'm looking at, even the long ship, is about the size I'd imagine a pirate ship to be.
Okay. So maybe it's just one long ship then. So roughly equivalent size.
Okay.
I think it comes down to the pirates have better technology, but also more discernible motivations.
Right.
Yeah.
And speak the same language as you.
Yeah, I think you've broken down a couple good points. Definitely the motivations is a problem because which would you rather fight? Assuming I lose both fights.
Right. I feel like in a straight up conflict, I'm going to lose to either of these groups.
Well, which one is? Do Vikings drink a lot? Which one's more likely to be drunk?
Both are definitely probably.
I don't think that's better for you if they're drunk. Yeah, fine. They might be slightly less hand-eye coordinated than they would otherwise, but also they're going to be, much more inclined to, violence and not murdering you.
Yeah, I feel like rationality is your biggest weapon here.
And their rationality is your biggest weakness.
Right, exactly. So I think I'm definitely leaning towards pirates.
Yeah, I think I am too. I'm trying to think of an argument for Vikings, but you brought up some good points.
Maybe. So, okay. Bear with me on this one. Vikings are going to be from what, like the 10th century, right?
Yeah, 11th century.
Yeah. Whereas pirates are at least slightly closer. You might be able to scare off Vikings with technology more easily than pirates. You can definitely spook pirates somewhat too, I'm sure.
What kind of tools do you have? Do you have weapons?
That's an important question we should have thought of first.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have what you own. Do you? If
you don't have like guns or anything.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't own a gun, you don't have a gun.
Okay.
The best I got's a bow and arrow.
So you're not going to scare Vikings with that.
Well, I only own like 3 arrows, so
probably not. There's a very good chance I could just have my Google Home say something and just scare the shit out of the Vikings, and
that is true. They might be just scared of your phone,
right? Whereas the pirates have at least some obviously not exposure to technology like we have, but they've seen oil lamps and shit
and they also be inclined to steal your technology,
right? Whereas the Vikings might just think it's some sort of crazy magic or some shit.
They wouldn't be able to get past my lock screen.
Yes, you're safe from the Vikings hacking your phone.
Yeah.
They're not going to post means Facebook status updates saying that you posted them.
So maybe you can scare off the Vikings. That's an intriguing possibility.
Yeah, I feel like we've boiled down the arguments to their base parts.
Yeah,
which means now it's decision time.
Yeah. I think I'm
Chris.
actually going to... Chris goes first. Well done.
You've been talking a lot, Ben. It's Chris's turn.
Fair.
Chris, pirates or Vikings?
I think Ben was very convincing with his arguments. I'm going to go pirates.
I'm going to also say pirates.
Great irony of the world. I'm going to go Vikings because I think that if I just spin my... I have a 65-inch flat screen TV. If I just spin that towards them and put up like a nature documentary about lions... They're going to be scared shitless and just run away.
Oh, they conjured a lion.
Yeah,
You know what's funny? That sounds obviously ridiculous, but there's a funny anecdote about early film.
Oh, yeah.
The train.
Yeah, they had a video of one of the very early films was just a video of a train coming at the screen. And apparently audiences actually freaked the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
All it was a train track with a train coming at the screen. And people lost their shit. Because they had this the first time they had seen a moving picture like that, and people didn't know, they just didn't understand.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more about that, we talked about it in episode...
The one where we talked about technology going back in time.
Yeah, I don't know what number that is.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did.
That was my answer.
It was. I'm looking it up right now. It was episode 21. What if you suddenly got sent back in time?
So check that answer out.
Yeah.
Go check out episode 21, then all the episodes between episode 21 and this one, so that you have all the context that you need to appreciate all our jokes.
Yep.
So you can go ahead and get that started. And in the meantime, we will be continuing with what we're doing. And if you watch all 50 of those episodes and have made it back to this point, because I assume you paused, went back, then resumed.
You paused right in that spot of this episode, listened to 50 episodes, and then came back to that spot so that we could say this to you.
It's just logical.
Yeah. Don't mock them, guys. They spend a lot of time listening to our
not
podcast.
mocking them, I'm just saying what they
They're
did.
one of our
You're
best.
right, you're right, you're
They're
right.
one of our best absurd hypotheticals. But if you are indeed one of our great hypotheticals and you want to support us to help us continue making this show, check out our Patreon. You can go to www.patreon.com/absurdhypotheticals, find our show, and we have just one tier at $1, and then you get all our stuff. And best of being, we do behind the scenes episodes every month, where you get a little look into how we make the show, what we really thought about people's answers, and just kind of, it's a more laid back, chit chatty version.
Sometimes we argue.
Frequently we argue.
We always argue. And then we do, of course, our wonderful off-the-cuff thankfulness metaphors that I do beautifully and Ben and Chris butcher horribly.
Wait, okay,
And it's
mine
an
last
awesome
time wasn't
time.
that bad.
It was not good.
Yours was the inflatable minion.
Okay, so it wasn't great.
Yeah, and
but-
if you want to hear Ben's inflatable minion metaphor, you can check out that behind-the-scenes episode. But either way, we will be back next week, where we answer the following question. What if all sports were on ice?